And good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for joining us for our latest installment in our webinar series, Student Success Stories. On behalf of Wilfrid Laurier University, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us for this interesting webcast. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. The event is being recorded for future viewing, so don't worry if you can't attend through the entire thing. You'll be sent a link to this webinar. You'll be able to watch it on your own time. Only the panelists are unmuted. You can hear us, but we cannot hear you. If you have any questions, however, please feel free to type them into the question box at the bottom of this webinar on your screen, and we'll answer them at the end. Introductions, myself, Isaac Ferguson, Maggie Paletta will be joining us, two of our current students, Anthony Paletta and Victoria Heron, Dr. Scott Blanford, and then, of course, Jake Jollo. And what we'll be talking about, Maggie will be going over employee partnerships and the program overview. Anthony and Victoria will be sharing their insights on what it's like to be a student and some tips and tricks of time management. Scott Blanford will be covering the balancing act and how successful students behave. And Jake Jolloff will be covering the enrollment process, and we'll be here to answer any questions. All of us will be here to answer any questions at the end of the webcast. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Maggie Paletta. Hi, Maggie.
Great, thanks, Isaac. And thank you for being here to learn more about our programs. My name is Maggie Paletta, and in my role, I'm responsible for employee partnerships and program awareness. And I've had the great pleasure of working with various public safety organizations across the country to introduce Laurier's suite of 100% fully online public safety programs. Currently, we offer a Bachelor of Arts in Policing, a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Policing, a Master of Public Safety, and 5 specialized graduate diplomas, which also serve as a pathway into our master's program. We've built some key features into our programs that we feel are critical to the success of working professionals who are considering an online learning degree. Our programs are current, relevant, provide academic rigor, flexibility, and most of all, are easily accessible. All of our programs were developed and built to the needs of public safety professionals and align with the 4 pillars of Public Safety Canada. These pillars include national security, border strategies, countering crime, emergency management, and we've added a 5th program, GIS and data analytics, to complement all pillars. This has become a mandatory and critical operational function in, I would say, all organizations and businesses inside and outside of public safety. For example, in policing, GIS and data analytics play an important role in predictive policing, giving law enforcement officers added insight into future crime prevention. So over the past few years, we've established some significant partnerships with many organizations and are grateful to have the backing from leaders that are responsible for training and education support the programs being offered by Laurier. They've helped us to introduce our online degree programs in an option to anyone that's thinking about continuing their education. Most recently, we are excited about a partnership that we established with the Canadian Police College to grant credits towards our programs for those who have completed specific courses at the Canadian Police College. And if you'd like to learn more about that partnership, you can certainly speak to one of our enrollment advisors at a later time. So in my travels, the most common questions I get asked are, well, who's teaching this? Is there support available? What level of commitment is required on my part? And as a result, we started hosting webinars like this to provide answers to those questions, but most importantly, to introduce you to some of our team that will be there to support you along your educational journey, and most of all, to highlight that you're not alone. In addition to this webinar from within your organization or found out about this through social media, we are happy that you've shown interest in our program and have joined us to learn more about our programs. If you'd like to learn more about how you can work with with myself and employer partnership opportunities and initiatives, please reach out to me directly. My contact information will be provided in the post-webinar email that will follow. So please enjoy the webinar. Thank you again for joining us today. And now I'm going to pass it back to Isaac.
Hey, great, Maggie. Thank you. So next up, we're going to be listening to one of our actual students, Victoria Heron, share some time management tips and tricks that she's acquired over her duration as becoming a student with Laurier. Go ahead, Victoria.
Before I applied to Wilfrid Laurier University to study public safety with a focus on emergency management, I asked myself 4 questions. Do I have the time? Do I have the self-discipline? How will I pay for it? And what's the benefit? So I put together a few slides to share my thoughts on how I answered these questions. I knew I needed to be organized, and I also needed the support of my family. I have limited time as I work full-time, and I also commute 3 hours a day, so I'm gone for about 11 hours a day. I recently changed jobs and now have the luxury of riding a commuter train during part of my commute for 60 minutes each way. I took full advantage of this found extra time, and I do most of my reading during the train ride. Something else I do to manage my time at the beginning of a semester is to chart out the due dates for all the assignments from the syllabus. I place these on a calendar along with work activities such as travel requirements and inter and family commitments such as birthdays and vacations. From there, I work out study time and research time so I can kind of balance and get everything in there while enjoying my family and keeping up with my studies. I'm also very lucky that my family does a lot of the cooking during the week. So when I get home, I get to enjoy a meal with my family and then just do the dishes. I do cook on the weekends as my part and prepare the lunches. I have always practiced lifelong education and believe learning is a gift, but you need to work hard for it. I was unsure if I was up to the challenge of a graduate diploma or my end goal of completing a master's degree in public safety. But through disciplined time management, it's really surprising what you can accomplish and still have time left to enjoy your family and friends. When I decided to go back to school, I knew I had to have good study habits to keep to my schedule. I also knew I needed to upgrade my writing skills to learn how to write in APA style. I decided to take a university-level writing course prior to starting the graduate diploma, just as a leg up. I learned to find time to do my reading when I found spare hours here and there, like spending a part of my lunch hour a few times a week to do some research with the support of my manager, which was a bonus. I didn't utilize the calendar during my first semester, and I'd think to myself, oh, I can do that tomorrow. I've got lots of time. Sometimes it's really okay if you do that because you just need to relax, but don't make it a habit. Procrastination can be your enemy. Don't leave it until later if you have scheduled time to study. Procrastination can lead to pressure on yourself, and it may take away unexpected free time that you could use to take care of yourself or take the family out for ice cream or go play a game of cards with your friends. Procrastination is not a good thing. Good study habits will help you overcome things that can pop up unexpectedly and steal away the best laid time management plans. It's such a good feeling when you submit assignments before the deadline, and good study habits also allow you to fully engage online with the discussions. I find the online discussions absolutely one of the best parts of the program, and learning the different views from my cohorts on fascinating topics is just wonderful. So funding your education is a personal choice. There's many ways you can look at to pay for your education. And some employers actually offer tuition reimbursement opportunities. You may want to speak to your employer to see if this is a possibility. Other ways are, you can look at bursaries, grants, there's student lines of credit, regular lines of credit, savings account. It's really a personal choice. The benefits of education are immense. Since I started this program, I've learned new skills and really enhanced ones that I already possessed. It's broadened my critical thinking and ability to see things from so many more perspectives. This program is challenging, but also very rewarding. I look forward to each discussion or assignment, and without exception, I always learn something new in each one. I've waited for years for a program like this where I could fully immerse myself in online learning. I work in the emergency management field, and I'm often called upon to work in an operations center for lengthy periods of time during emergency events such as the BC wildfires and floods of 2017 and 18. So between my commute and the type of work I do, going on campus was not an option. The platform that's used for this learning environment is very well thought out, and there's many tutorials that'll help you navigate it. In addition, the professors are very understanding when real life things come up, and they'll work with you to help you succeed and be flexible when needed. I could not be happier with the content of the courses and the support I've received from my advisor, my professors, the librarian, and even the printing services. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time working and learning at Wilfrid Laurier University, and I'm sure you will too. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Victoria. That was neat to hear the insight from the student perspective. Next on deck, we've got Anthony Paletta, who's also going to be talking about his learnings.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Isaac, for the introduction, and thank you for providing this opportunity for me to share my personal experiences as a current student in the Master of Public Safety program at Wilfrid Laurier University. Before I continue with my experiences as a student, I just want to take a minute to share some background information about myself. I'm currently in my 25th year of policing in a large city in Southern Ontario and have enjoyed working in many different areas of policing, including priority response, community response, major crimes, training section, criminal investigations, and corporate planning, to name a few. Throughout the years, I have completed numerous training courses and certification courses related to policing and have earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science before becoming a police officer. Now, I have been interested in continuing with my education for several years and have spent some time considering the options available to me. I ultimately chose Laurier's MPS program as I believe the courses offered within the program contain relevant and applicable content, and because of the flexibility that is built right into the program. With the entire program being offered 100% online, I can complete my assignments at a time that is convenient to me. Now, at this time, I will share some of the experiences to date as a student and some of the strategies that I have used to help manage my time effectively, both as a student and working professional. As I mentioned just a moment ago, the MPS program is fully online and can be completed at my own pace. Once the course begins and is made available on Wilfrid Laurier's online learning platform, I can immediately review the entire course syllabus and highlight important due dates for assignments well in advance. This allows me to coordinate my personal and professional commitments so I can essentially put aside the necessary time for the major assignments within the course and identify the important due dates in advance. I also have the flexibility to sign on to my student workspace 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This easy-to-use platform can be accessed from essentially any smartphone, tablet, laptop, or desktop, provided you have internet connectivity. This type of flexibility allows me to review course lectures, read discussion posts, and even read weekly reading assignments at a time and place that is convenient for me. So on average, I dedicate about 8 to 10 hours per week to each lesson. This includes reviewing the course lecture and completing the weekly assignments. On average, you will be required to complete the assigned the assigned readings for each week and complete a weekly discussion post while responding to 2 other students' perspectives. Additionally, each course contains 2 to 3 possibly larger assignments which may require additional research and obviously greater time commitments. To date, all of the course reading material has been available online, either embedded as a link within the course material or located in the course reserves. Now, I will mention that there has been a weekly deadline for each assignment that has remained fairly consistent throughout each week. For example, in my current course, the weekly discussion post is due by the end of day 4, and the 2 responses are due by the end of day 7. Now, if anyone has any specific questions in relation to workload, assignments, or time commitments, I will be more than happy to answer them following the webinar. Another key feature of the program that has allowed me to balance my personal, professional, and student life is the number of course start dates every year for this program. The MPS program has 3 start dates per year. That's January, May, and September, which allows you to essentially plan your studies around significant times in your life while managing your personal and professional commitments. The program also allows you to request a semester off without any academic or financial penalties if unforeseen circumstances prevent you from enrolling for one of the start dates throughout the year. I have requested a semester off to accommodate a recent promotional process at work, and I can tell you personally that this feature of the program provides reassurance in knowing that you can focus on other areas of your life comfortably without being concerned about your status as a student. This process is extremely simple to complete, especially with the assistance of your dedicated Student Success Advisor. As mentioned, the Master of Public Safety is geared towards working professionals. I think we all appreciate and realize that there are times when unexpected personal or professional situations prevent you from completing an assignment. In my experiences, the course professors are extremely understanding, as many of them have ties, professional ties, to the field of public safety and understand the complexities of working in this type of environment. The process to communicate with a professor has been very simple and informal. There have been occasions where unforeseen work and personal commitments have prevented me from completing my assignment. In these situations, I simply reached out to the professor, provided a brief explanation of my situation, and was afforded an extension without any consequences. To date, I have certainly already experienced the immediate benefits as a student in this program. I have selected emergency management as my specialized pathway, and I am learning practical information and applicable operational theories for my current role. The course content has allowed me to look beyond police training and beyond my perspective as a municipal police officer. While I certainly understand the need and importance of police training, the course provides me with important perspectives on the social, political, and economic implications on public safety and highlight the significance of communication, leadership, and collaboration amongst government agencies, private corporations, and communities as a whole. One of the highlights for me to date has been understanding in greater detail the importance of interoperability, collaboration, and communication to achieve goals, common goals, in emergency management. Now, I will just take a moment to share my perspective from a police officer's lens or viewpoint. As a police officer, our priority is community safety. So during an emergency situation, our goal is to preserve life and to mitigate the risks associated to the emergency, whether that means we are stopping the threat, containing a scene, or evacuating an area. We are essentially there to restore community safety so that recovery within the affected community can begin. And this process is a shared responsibility with all other public safety practitioners. As police officers, we are also responsible for the subsequent investigation, laying appropriate charges if necessary, and potentially managing the case throughout the court system while providing victim support. So like many other fields within public safety, this profession calls for individual leaders that are quick, critical thinkers who must consider a number of different perspectives when making a split-second decision. So expanding your own comfort level through continued learning of new concepts, new technologies, and new perspectives will certainly support your current role and create a framework for future leadership in public safety. I have also benefited tremendously from the networking opportunities from the students enrolled in the courses that I have taken so far. In each course, you will gain valuable insight from the perspectives of other public safety practitioners, students, and individuals all sharing their lived experiences. There is a wide cross-section of students from across Canada who work in various fields, including Canadian military, Canada Border Services, regional and municipal emergency managers, special constables, and police officers from across the country. I certainly hope you found this information both interesting and beneficial. Once again, thank you for your time today, and I look forward to possibly meeting you as future students in the program. Please let me know if you have any further questions, and I will be more than happy to share my perspective following the webinar. Thank you.
Hey, great stuff, Anthony. It sounds like you've had positive experiences throughout your entire experience with the program. So next, we're actually going to hear from one of the program professors that Anthony was talking about, Dr. Scott Blanford. You take it away, Scott.
That the society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting by fools. How I interpret that is the expectation upon public safety practitioners is that they will have the necessary skill sets in order to be effective and efficient in their jobs. Back when I started in policing 30 years ago, the usual hiring criteria was how big are you, what sports did you play, and how good can you fight? Those days are long gone. There's a greater expectation placed upon our public safety practitioners across all the disciplines: fire, paramedic, emergency management, corrections. The expectation by the public is that you have the skill sets and the abilities to do that job properly. So we're now talking about smart warriors, not warriors of brawn. There's a greater expectation across public safety in Canada. There's a move towards professionalization. I was just at a conference out west, and that was the topic of the conference, was the professionalization of policing. And that's similar across all the public safety disciplines. The expectations are much higher upon organizations and on their people. You need to be able to work across the different disciplines. I remember back in the old days, police officer, we would fire up or show up at a fire scene, and we would do the traffic, and we wouldn't talk to the fire department. They were busy putting out the fire. There was a bit of a rivalry going on, but we didn't really share information. We didn't talk. There was no collaboration. Those days are gone. The need to maximize resources, the complexity of investigations and incidents is so much more that we have to break down those silos that have happened across the disciplines. And that's what these programs are designed to do, to give you a bit of cross-pollination so you understand what the other disciplines do, and hopefully we can work more effectively, more efficiently. Greater expectations for post-secondary education at the entry level. Recent changes to the Ontario Police Services Act now require a university degree or a college diploma. And that's not unlike what happened to nursing 20 to 25 years ago. It's also happening Canadian Paramedic Association. I've heard that there's an expectation that they will require a degree. And again, expectations are that you will have some form of post-secondary education. There's also an increased use of specialized position, crime analysis, computer forensics. Data drives everything, whether it's GIS data to determine where to place ambulances so that they can reduce their response times, how to staff hospital rooms. It's being used to identify potential flood zones. It's being used by police for predictive policing. Data drives everything, and the ability to understand it and to utilize it effectively and efficiently is really changing the focus of different public safety organizations and the skills that are required by those practitioners. The question becomes, and in your mind, you're probably having those questions, how do I do this? I can't attend classes on a regular basis. I don't have time. I've been out of school for too long. Those are excuses. I can tell you my education path started back in 1983, and I realized that I needed to do something to make myself the better candidate moving forward in the promotional process, and I began my education path. It took 22 years to complete it, and that was while working shifts, while on call for the tactical unit, while coaching my son's hockey team, while trying to stay married. It's tough, but it all comes down to, if you want it and you feel it's a worthy investment, which I suggest it is, in your own future, then it's well worth putting the time, effort, and investment into it. Our programs are designed part-time because we realize that people coming into them are working practitioners. They have other commitments. They can get called out for lengthy periods of time. I have a student in our master's program right now who's just been deployed with the military to Africa, has now lost internet connection. We work with it. Two of our other students were heavily involved in the flood situation out in British Columbia, working 20-hour shifts. There's flexibility built into the program. We understand that. That's what separates this program from a traditional in-class program or any other program that may be out there. You have to manage your time, though. My martial arts sensei used to tell me that life is like a wagon wheel, and if one of your spokes is too long or too short, your wagon wheel will not roll. It's the same with your life-work balance. You need to find that equilibrium that will give you time to work on your education, maintain your family life, and also your professional life. And it all comes down to time management and maintaining a schedule. When I was working on my education, on the family calendar on the fridge, we used to mark off Tuesday night, dad's school, Sunday morning, dad's school. And I had those set periods of time, and my family understood that and gave me the freedom to do that. So you have to set aside time. The one challenge with an online program is that it's very easy to put it off until tomorrow, to procrastinate, and then suddenly the week is upon you and you find yourself behind. Online programs require time management. They require discipline. Quite often you find yourself working through a problem because you don't have the ability to put your hand up and have a professor answer it for you. But developing those critical thinking skills, those time management skills, those are all the soft skills that are being looked at by organizations as very important, moving up into management and senior leadership positions. So you're actually developing soft skills without even realizing you're doing it that will set you up for success in your career. All the courses are built around weekly modules. You'll have assigned readings, sometimes a self-reflection piece, and there's generally a written assignment or a discussion board, an online discussion where you can interact with the other students in the program each week. So there will be something each week. Question always becomes, how much time should I dedicate each week? Depends on your individual learning style, how much you can absorb when you read, how fast you read, how you write your essays and your assignments. But generally, 10 to 15 hours per week per course is a fair estimate. So have that in mind, that you will be doing something each and every week, and manage your time accordingly. This slide will show you a sample weekly schedule from the PD 202 course. This is provided for every course, a weekly schedule. It's designed to help keep you on track and stay current with your studies. It will tell you what the topic is for that particular module or lesson. It will tell you what the required readings or videos that you may have to watch. And then it will tell you what work you have to submit, either for grading or just as a self-reflection piece. But this is provided to you to help keep you on track, and you can put this into your calendar and be able to manage your workload accordingly. At the graduate level, in the master's programs and the graduate diplomas, the expectation for something to be submitted each and every week is a given. So the workload there is a little bit higher. There's higher expectations that you're going to write at the appropriate academic level. In our programs, we use APA format, and you will be challenged to write in APA format. But that's not unlike any other discipline where you are required to write in the appropriate format. So if you can write well in academia, you can write well anywhere, because academia is very formal. And I think that's, again, a very strong skill to add to your arsenal as you move forward in your career. This next slide just gives you a sample lesson assignment, tells you what you need to do, tells you some of the non-credit activities that you'll be involved in, also the online discussion boards. Keeping in mind, online discussions are asynchronous. That means you don't have to log in at a certain time and sit and wait for someone to add something to the chat room. You can go on, you can respond to a student's post. You can do that at 2 o'clock in the morning after finishing a shift. You can do it in the morning before you head off to work, or anything else that you have to do for the day. So there's a lot of flexibility built into the program. Here are some tips that I've developed over the years of working on my studies. Make sure you block off periods of time. Make sure that your family supports you, and understand that this is a commitment. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in your capital worth, so to speak. Where possible, use electronic texts. We have some of the courses are making use of electronic textbooks. Most of the readings are PDF documents, online videos from YouTube, and open source documents on the internet that you can take advantage of. Make sure you always have them with you, loaded onto an iPad or a Kindle, and you'll always have your materials with you. Don't be afraid to contact your instructors and ask questions. If they don't hear from you, the expectation is that everything is okay. So take advantage. The people that are teaching these courses are subject matter experts. These are not, particularly in the discipline courses, these are practitioners who also have the academic credentials to teach in those programs, and they love to talk about their topics. So make sure you take advantage of that. Also, take advantage of all the resources that are available to you. Don't take on too much, particularly if it's your first course. You're going to have a bit of a learning curve getting back into the education swing, but also you're going to have to learn the online format and how to navigate to the program. So I suggest taking one course at a time initially until you get your feet wet and feel more comfortable. Take advantage of the different support systems, the online supports that we have for you. Take advantage of the library for accessing resources. Take advantage of your student advisors. That's what they're there for. And we've also created a community space for policing online within the programs. It's sort of a virtual chat room where you can go online with no obligations to submit anything. It's just an open forum. We have people swapping textbooks. We have one fellow who put out a request. He collects challenge coins, and there's a lot of other things going on. Take advantage of those different resources. Stay committed. Understand that most organizations have an expectation for lifelong learning. It takes discipline, but you will develop those soft skills employers are looking for. Our programs offer greater flexibility. You'll never have to set foot on campus. And although you're not on campus, you will still have access to all those same support systems. So make sure that you take advantage of them. Although you're studying at home alone, you are not alone in the program. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Isaac.
Thanks a lot, Scott. It's good to get the professor's side of insights as well. So next we'll be hearing from Jake Jolliffe, who's going to be covering the enrollment process. Jake, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you so much, Isaac. So I'm going to be going over the benefits of working with an enrollment advisor through Wilfrid Laurier University. I work specifically in this department, and our department's main focus is to help provide you with a clear admittance pathway based on your unique qualifications, both academically and professionally. Specifically with the Masters of Public Safety program, we have a variety of options available, and it's really important that you have a good, clear understanding as to how you fit within them. We want to be able to aid you in the completion of your application, including the submission of all your requisite documents. We're also working as a liaison between the student and the faculty, providing any answers to pertinent questions or issues. We always want to make sure that you students are well represented and that all of your inquiries are being handled in a timely manner. We're here to help provide clear instructions and support throughout the entire process from your inquiry to your acceptance. That includes anything from going over different issues regarding to cost or your transcripts, calculating your overall GPA, having your experience vetted, just making sure that, again, you have a very clear understanding as to where you fit. We want to help you aid in the gathering and organizing of all of those documents and ensuring they're being submitted to the faculty in an orderly fashion, just basically making sure that your application is going to reach them prior to any pertinent deadlines. And lastly, we want to be able to provide a comprehensive explanation of the programmatic details, including some of the major learning outcomes and what you can really expect to gain from the program. So let's talk a little bit about the institution and what exactly we represent. We represent 100 years of inspiring lives of leadership and purpose. We are fully accredited by the MAESD as well as the OUCQA. And we have a 30-year plus history of adult education with a specialty in online learning. That's something that we really take a lot of pride in because, especially with the public safety programs, we understand that generally speaking, the representatives of these programs don't have very flexible schedules, and as a result, we want to be as flexible and accommodating as possible to ensure that we can maintain our rank #1 in the country of student satisfaction. That really is our #1 priority here, and our entire department is completely focused on making sure that students have everything they need in order to be set up for success. Our degrees are customized to the ever-changing public landscape and are well-equipped at providing you with a very modern and up-to-date look at the current challenges that are facing the public safety landscape. And lastly, our Faculty of Human and Social Sciences has a national reputation for its programs in public safety. This is the only Masters of Public Safety program that you will find. Going over a little bit more of our program history and design, our program is extensive nationwide consultation with public safety organizations about their needs. We're always wanting to make sure that we're liaisoning with these organizations and ensuring that we're tailoring the education that we provide to the needs of these organizations so that the students are well equipped to help these organizations tackle the issues that they're facing. Our courses are created by public safety leaders with real-world experience. It's very important to us that all of our faculty are very well versed, both academically and professionally, in order to provide you with the most well-rounded approach to public safety. And that brings me to my next point, which is our courses are only taught by qualified faculty and people with real-world experience. We don't have any pure academics or pure experience-based professors in this program. Everybody is a very good hybrid approach to education and professional development. Our program is 100% online. It has no residency requirement of any kind, which is rare. A lot of the online programs in this space do have some form of residency, but it's important to us that our program, as I mentioned, be as flexible as possible. We're looking to really make it be able to fit around your life, and this is very similar to what Anthony was describing concerning his experience. We want to make sure that on a week-to-week basis there are no or as little deadlines and issues regarding your schedule as possible, and the program is exclusively for public safety officials. Now let's talk a little bit about the role of an advisor and what we can really do to help you move through this process. The advisement team here is an extension of your goals, and we work with the university on behalf of your application and on your admissions purposes. We're here to help you every step of the way to put you in a best position to get yourself accepted to the program of choice. This includes things like tips and tricks with respect to how to submit your documents and ensuring that you are providing all of the correct information. From contact, application to acceptance, we will be here through every stage of the process and ensure that you are moved forward in an appropriate manner. And your journey begins with us. We're here to be a subject matter expert on the program and answer any questions or concerns you may have about the program. Going over a little bit more of the program offerings that Maggie had alluded to earlier, we do have the Masters of Public Safety at the master's level, as well as the Combined Honors Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Policing, as well as the Honors Bachelors of Policing at the undergraduate level. And coming soon, we're very excited to be launching our Bachelors of Public Safety program, which will be a fantastic linear pathway program from the undergraduate level to the master's level. And we also offer the 5 graduate diplomas in public safety, which allows you to specialize in an area of your choosing, and upon successful completion, potentially move into the master's. Going over a little bit of the specific application requirements, we always appreciate when students have a phone session with the enrollment team here just to go over all of the pertinent details and make sure we can really make a good connection from the very beginning. We have students complete an application through the OUAC website. You can also reach it at online.wlu.ca/apply now. The application does come with a $65 fee, and we do require that students who are applying to the Bachelor of Arts in Policing program be able to provide an official letter from their Human Resources Department verifying their employment. And for all programs, we require the official transcripts from all your previously attended academic institutions. An important note there is that any professional development training you've done as part of your role, for instance, as a police officer or a firefighter, is to remain as part of your resume, and only post-secondary institutions are required. Thank you so much. We really are excited to be working with you going forward based on your interest in any of our public safety online programs. We are currently accepting applications for our next intake, and you can reach us at the contact information below. And I will pass it now back to Isaac.
Thanks, Jake. Just wanted to quickly go over some next steps if you're thinking about applying before we get into our Q&A session. So like Jake was saying, we're currently accepting applicants for all of our programs. There's a lot of work that goes into your application, so it's important to remember that depending on your chosen program, the process can take up to 4 weeks. So get your enrollment advisor working for you now. And just like the last slide, there's a couple different ways you can get a hold of us. There's an email address, admissions@online.wlu.ca. You can always go visit laurierpublicsafety.ca, or there's a 1-800 number attached to this slide as well. And once again, this webinar will be sent out to you within the next day or so you can review all the slides and go back and check these numbers. So I'd like to especially thank our guests today, Victoria and Anthony, for taking the time to share their student experience, as well as Scott, Maggie, and Jake for joining us for this webinar, and of course you for all attending. And with that, we're going to move into our Q&A session. I've noticed that we have a few questions already. So we're going to answer the first one, which is from Luigi. So Luigi is asking, what's a typical module layout in terms of work, i.e. how many assignments and discussion points per module? So Jake or Scott, did you want to answer that one?
I can answer that one.
All right.
The typical module depends on what the course is, and it depends upon what the developer has built into it. However, typically, each module, which is essentially 1 week in length, so you'll have at the MPS level, you'll have 13 modules because they're 13-week courses. Each week will have generally some sort of interaction. It may be a discussion board, as Victoria and Anthony had talked about, where you have to post a response to a question or submit an example of a situation you've had, and then respond generally to at least 2 other students. That creates that interaction. Now, I want to point out that this is not a case of where you have to log on like a chat room and be there at a certain time each and every day. This is what's called asynchronous learning. So you can log in at 2 o'clock in the morning after you finish the shift, or you can do it mid-afternoon, and you simply respond. Generally, the requirements are around 500 words, although I try not to be, and the instructors and developers try not to be too particular about discussion boards because we don't want to artificially limit the discussion by putting a word limit on it. So that would generally be 1 week's work that you have to submit. The next week may be what we call a self-reflection, or just a short little essay where you answer a question or you provide an example of where you've been involved in a situation and how the module concepts that you've now learned could have been applied to maybe have a different response. What we're trying to do is draw from you in a short written assignment, and again, generally around 500 words in length, how the course is influencing your thought processes. Are you learning new concepts that you can then apply? So it's that practical application. And then the other assessment tool that we use are usually longer papers, either a research paper or a position paper. And those are generally at the end of the course, which is sort of a keystone project that allows you to draw all the concepts. Generally, you'll have a choice of different topics. You can choose one. Generally, you'll bounce it off your professor to make sure it's okay and you're not heading off on a bad tangent. And that's usually due at the end of the course, and those are usually anywhere from 10 to 15 pages, double-spaced, 12-font papers, just to give you a sense of the size of them. You will generally not have multiple assignments in the same module. It's usually one of those, just to keep you engaged. And the discussion boards generally tend to be far more than just 1 or 2 comments. They branch off in all sorts of fantastic discussion.
All right, great. Next, we've got a question from Sandor. Sandor is asking, are the lectures at a fixed time or are they archived and viewable in a flexible time frame? I believe Scott just answered that question within his answer of the last question. The learning is completely asynchronous, so excuse me, you can download and view all lesson plans at any time. That's correct. Correct, Scott?
If I can just clarify that too. The modules are designed so that there's a commentary that's written by the developer. And what it does is it weaves you through the various readings that have been assigned. So you'll do a reading and then there'll be a small little narrative written by the developer that kind of pulls out the key points and kind of ties it all together to everything as it goes. There's not many, if any, sections where there's actually a pre-recorded lecture that you have to sit and listen to or watch. Generally, it's self-guided in that you'll have readings to complete. We try to make use of YouTube videos that are relevant or when we're trying to demonstrate an example. But for the most part, it's sort of self-directed. You don't have to sit down and listen to me talk for 2 hours about a topic. Well, I wouldn't sit and listen to me for 2 hours about a topic.
Great. Excellent answer. So next we've got a question from Walter. Walter is asking, what financial assistance resources would you recommend for part-time status students? Jake, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, of course, Isaac. Thank you. Hey, Walter, it's good to see you again. I hope that you're enjoying the program so far. We definitely do have a department that handles all of the financial aid related options. It's servicelaurier.ca, so that's something that all students can look into. And generally what I advise students is due to this program's part-time online nature, it does not often qualify for any form of student aid. However, I have had students do private loans through institutions or banks, and they find that the rates are relatively comparable to what a student financial aid plan might look like. So there's definitely a lot of options available. And if you have any specific questions, you can always get in contact with me and we can explore those together.
Great. Next, we've got another follow-up question from Luigi. He's asking, is the MPS good for a person in the fire service? I keep hearing from a lot of people being in the police service. So yeah, actually Victoria, one of our current students, is not a police officer. We do have a lot of police officers in the program. However, maybe Victoria, you could share a little bit about your experience being a non-police officer and how it's relevant to you.
Sure. So I work in the broader emergency management field. So I'm not a first responder, but I'm behind the scenes and generally work in, I do a lot of planning, emergency operations, go on site, liaison officers. So, and it's everything that I'm learning is absolutely relevant and really broadening my knowledge skills. It's fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you, Victoria.
Maybe if I could just jump in on that quickly too,
sure.
Just from a higher level perspective. That was one of the things that we're trying to bring into this program is bringing in people from all the different disciplines. And yes, it is sort of police-centric at this point because police organizations tend to really espouse the concepts of lifelong learning and they push their people to do it. When I was the dean down at Lambton College, I was in charge of the fire school out there, and I saw the need for education and chances for police or fire officers rather that are moving through the organization to get those skill sets that would take them to the senior levels. So I wanted to make sure that they are really represented well in this program, and they are. We do have persons from fire organizations that have developed some of the courses and are teaching them. So I really want to get more firefighters into this program because I think that's a very healthy process to get that, to break down those silos and get that communication going back and forth across the disciplines.
Absolutely, great. Next question we have is from Ali. Ali is asking how it will be useful to add this master's to an engineering degree as a work path. So Jake or Scott, did you want to handle that question?
Sorry, kind of faded out in the question. Could you just repeat that?
Sorry, how would it be useful to add this master's degree to an engineering degree as a work path?
Well, it would depend on what you want to do as a work path. What you're going to get in the MPS is you're going to get the public sector side of it predominantly, but many insurance companies, many NGOs, non-government organizations are all looking for persons that have a background in emergency management And having that engineering background would really benefit you. For example, you could go in and do risk assessments on buildings on after flood damage or after earthquakes. You could be involved in insurance companies doing assessments of buildings as to whether they should be torn down or is there a chance to remediate the building. So having that second master's would just give you more options and make you that much more marketable. And it comes down again to those developing those skill sets that people want within different organizations. And if they get it all in one stop, one person, I think you're in a much better position for getting the job.
All right, good comprehensive answer. So another question, we've got time for maybe a couple more. This question comes from Kate. I see that the Master of Public Safety program consists of only 8 courses. To what extent does that cover all 4 pillars of public safety? And by contrast, at what point do we need to decide a specialization? That sounds like a question for Jake.
Yeah, thanks, Isaac. So just to be completely clear, the Master's Public Safety program is only 8 courses, and we have each student choose only one of the pillars of public safety, and they take the 2 associated courses to each pillar. So students are able to, upon completion of the Master's, do the other graduate diplomas if they so choose, but that's how we get to that 8-course total while focusing on only one of the pillars. And by contrast, the 2 introductory courses, SAFE 600 and SAFE 601, they sort of explore the pillars from a historical and contemporary challenges perspective. So you definitely will get some of that in those courses as well. And in terms of when do you need to decide the specialization, that's done during the application process. However, based on the time frame of when you start the program, if you were to say start the program when SAFE 600 was being offered as the first course, you would then be able to change your specialization prior to you taking your first specialization course. And it all really depends on what course is currently being offered based on the carousel model. For instance, if you were to begin with one of the specialization courses, you would then not be able to switch it, as the specialization courses don't offer any credit outside of their specific disciplines.
Fair enough. Also,
sorry, I just quickly add too. It's not unusual though for someone to start the program thinking that their interest was in countering crime, for example, but as they get going through and are exposed to some of the other disciplines in the core courses outside their pillar, they think that I wouldn't mind taking a look at a different pillar. There's no problem with changing your pillar as long as you haven't started your pillar specific courses yet, because as Jake said, you won't get credit for that, but as the coordinator of the program, I would be the one that would sign off on that. And if someone said, my interest has changed or because of a new position I've taken on, this is more applicable to my role, not a problem at all.
Fair enough. And then we've got one last question, unless anybody else wants to squeeze one more in there. It's from Luigi again, and I believe the beginning of this is already been answered, but he's asking how many courses in the MPS, so we know the answer is 8, and how many semesters, and what is the time frame breakdown, i.e. September to December? What does that look like? Jake or Scott, did you want to handle that one?
Yeah, I can take that.
Go ahead, Jake. I was just going to say that 8 courses in total. We have built it's a very comprehensive, what we call a carousel for course delivery, to make sure that there's always a course available, whether you're in the graduate diploma or in the master's program, keeping in mind that the courses for the graduate diploma are the exact same courses as the master's. The only people that know that you're a graduate diploma versus a master's student is yourself, the registrar, and your advisor. So you're taking the same courses. We've built it so that you always have a course available to take. It's been built on the premise you'll take one course at a time. And that is because 2 courses at a time while working full-time is just not realistically manageable. So you would take one course in January, your next course would start in May, your third course would start in September, 4th in January, and it's just a continuous looping, as Anthony had indicated, about continuous enrollment. And to finish off the MPS, all 8 courses, you're looking at a period of about 18 months to complete it.
All right, great. And it looks like that concludes all the questions. Oh, wait, Mike Stevens is in with one more question. We'll answer one more, and then that'll be it for this webinar. So I assume that the master's program, sorry, I'll just publish this. I assume that the master's program is course-based only and no thesis route is available. That Correct. Sounds like a question for Scott, yeah.
Absolutely correct. No exams, written exams in the courses because they're just too hard to administer in an online format. And it is a course-based practitioner graduate degree, not a thesis-based.
All right. Thanks a lot, Scott. And just once again, before we sign off here, I just want to take time to especially thank Anthony and Victoria to take the time to give us their student perspective, as well as Scott, Jake, and Maggie for their input as well. It's nice to hear from the students and their experiences, and I'm sure the prospective students on the other side of this will appreciate those insights specifically. So thanks a lot, Anthony and Victoria. And if you are looking to sign up to one of our programs, you'll see them in the courses. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us for this webinar. If you do have any questions, this will be resent out to you, and feel free to reach out to any of our enrollment advisors. They'll be happy to talk with you and alleviate your concerns. Thank you very much, everyone.